can other people create turning points for themselves with given the energy that I see in you?
Some of them, I think, is luck. You know that.
Yes,
but some of them are very important. And I think, I was thinking about it, because when you called me, you never gave me the questions that you're going to ask me before. No. But I was thinking about turning point. And I think the most important part, get up in the morning. Yes. And if you feel like you have talent, if you feel like you have something to say, yes, just push yourself and say, today, I'm going to do something about it. Today, I'm going to change my life. And the most people will tell you, they're going to say, oh, no, we don't need you, or we don't like you. Get up the next morning and say, I want this thing.
And what I hear you saying is, believe in yourself no matter what. Actors are in and out of jobs. Actors have all kinds of things that they have to do, driving cabs and all the rest, but that perseverance is what really makes it happen.
Absolutely, because
and that's what I hear you saying.
I think it's also important. You see a lot of people.
And every day is a new day. That's what another thing I hear you say.
That's right. And look at it also. God gave you talent.
Yes.
Whatever the talent is.
Yes, but there are defeatists out there who say, oh, me? Oh, anything I do. No.
We all like that. We all like that. But it's so important just to make, literally, get your leg up and make the first step and say, let me try. And something inside always will say, no, I don't want to do it.
Yes.
Don't push. You know, it's always conflict inside of you.
How can you find those talents, though, Alex?
How can you find it? You can find when you're very little. Your mother will help you. People around you will help you. Your desire. Don't. You know, you go to a movie and you wanna become like one of these guys on the screen. Or if it's connected with art,
you're
or maybe it's not art. Maybe it's something else.
Look for a mentor. Find someone that you can look up to.
But
find
also
someone who's
look inside of yourself.
How, you talk about mirroring, going back now as to the cause, thinking about childhood, what makes someone decide to do this? It's a big question, and I know it's probably case by case, but there are broader answers. What is it in childhood, that mirroring that you talk about, or other issues, that makes someone make choices that perhaps are not lifelong choices, that give you a need to want more, that the marriage just isn't providing enough? What is it?
Well, there are so many factors. I would say basically if a person doesn't feel good about him or herself, and often that's an outgrowth of what is referred to as mirroring, how the significant people in your upbringing react to you and the nature of those relationships, that's going to determine a great deal about how you relate to people throughout your life. And what we found with affairs is that people get into them for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes just it's an impulsive kind of thing. For others, they're trying to fill some gap in the relationship.
And what's the gap? I go back to that mirroring thing. It struck me in particular, thinking about what goes on.
Well, some people want to have it all, and as we know, you can't have it all, or it's a very rare. Well, maybe you're different, but for most people, it does happen, obviously, but it's a very rare occurrence. Usually, people have to make various concessions in relationships, and some people can, and some can't. And for somebody who wants to have it all, they're going to be disappointed. Other people are willing to accept that. Other people are willing to make other kinds of compensations for it.
But is the mirroring side of it, where you've been with your parent and you feel as though you've gotten enough love and you've gotten enough of them and you watch what they do, and then you transfer that to your marriage and you say, well, that was okay. That was okay. That piece for me was really okay. And then you can transfer it. I want to look at a healthy marriage. Before we look at why it goes stale, what makes it healthy?
The healthy marriage really has to do, as you were saying, Anne-Renee, in terms of, it has to do with what happened in childhood too. So the mirroring really meant that the parents, or whoever was taking care of the child, gave them a lot of appreciation. It's really a lot of applause. It's like, you're wonderful at 2, you're wonderful at 4, emphasizing all the positives the child is doing. The person grows up with self-esteem, and later on in the marriage seeks to repeat that kind of appreciation.
And then you say, how much is enough?
And then you say how much is enough, because if you didn't get a sufficient amount, or you got so much that it went past the bounds of when it should really taper off, with some frustration, as the theorists say, you can't constantly applaud a child. There has to be some tapering off so the child has a sense of the real world.
So that if you were accustomed to all that applause,
Too much. If
too
you're
much
accustomed to too much.
applause, then what happens is you meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, and that's okay for a while, but then you say, hey, where's this other more applause? I need more because I got so much back then, I need it now again.
And you exhaust the other person, because the other person can't stay clapping their hands forever because the hands get blisters.
Has to be.
Yes, but then on the other hand, you're saying play hard to get or not be so,
If that's what he wants.
So they have the ability to key in to their needs.
Oh,
They
that's
have
part-
that special sense
Hey,
about
that's the
them.
job training that you develop. Now, Mia Farrow, I called her the god Proteus. She's the kind, like the Greek god Proteus, who transformed his being into anything, to any kind of persona that was needed. This is what she does, and I don't believe it's conscious anymore. Her first affair was not with Frank Sinatra, it was with Salvador Dali when she was 17 and he was 60. And if you read what she said about him, everything he said was wonderful. I mean, her vision of life was Dali's vision of life. It's like having a, can you imagine what his point of view is? Having this adoring one, loving everything you say, and becoming your slave in a sense. And this is what she does with each one. Now, this is what he wanted. Sinatra wanted a virgin who fell off the, the Festival of San Gennaro float.
Yes.
He had enough of the other kind. So she was Miss Virginia with the blonde hair and the white dress. This is what he needed.
For those people out there who want to embark on their
And a writing career.
or just advice for people on how to reach their turning points, how to recognize things for themselves. Big question, Val.
This is very interesting. Before Up the Down Staircase, I was a school teacher. Nobody knew me. I thought everything I think now. I said everything I think now, but now they listen.
Yes.
So if I have advice, maybe it will be listened to.
And the advice is?
It sounds pontifical. I hate to be a dispenser of advice because so much depends on who the person is listening, where that person comes from, where that person wants to
It's
go.
all of us out there.
I think you have to find out, first of all, who you are. Who you are. Let me quote Shakespeare. Who can say more than this rich praise that you alone are you? Uniqueness of each one. There are millions of people out there. Each one is unique. And what it is that you can do best. Fix a car, write a poem, do a pirouette. If that is what you love, pursue it. It isn't always easy.
Yes, and to stick to your guns. So many people don't recognize the fact that they in fact are unique, and to be able to pursue that.
And sometimes, this is interesting, the thing they do most easily, they dismiss. Oh, I do those silly cartoons. That's the thing where their talent
But
is.
some people don't feel that they're special, and they don't recognize the fact that doing the cartoons are so wonderful. They see other people doing things that appear to be so much greater, if you will, and little me, you know, what am I
But they
doing?
are listening to you and to me, aren't they?
I hope so.
And they will listen to you at your future programs.
Yes, yes, and I hope that it provides a great deal of encouragement. How was a girl child perceived in all this splendor?
Well, a girl child identifies with a mother. My mother, Shalom Aleicham's daughter, didn't let her father's fame stop her. She published over 2,000 short stories. She wrote them on one foot in 10 minutes, never reworked them. And she would see me struggling over a short story I was doing for Esquire or Collier's while I was teaching. I was writing short stories. And she said, half jokingly, Belichka, why does it take you so long? Don't you have any talent? But a half joke to someone with a fragile ego is very serious.
Yes.
I remember a half joke my father made. I came home graduating from college, magna cum laude. My father said, very nice, but why not summa cum laude? Well, it was a half a joke, but I took it seriously. I remember crying when I got 98 on a history test instead of 100. So, setting high standards is a laudable thing. We should all strive for them. But being that kind of perfectionist can be paralyzing.
Indeed. Hence the late blooming.
The late blooming, it was only the huge success of Up the Down Staircase that gave me permission. All right, Belichka, you can be a writer too. Because the critics, you see, said the right things. They said, she wears the mantle well. They spoke of the same humor and compassion. So I no longer had to compete.
And it belonged to you.
Because no one else was a teacher.
And it took you how many years to
Well,
get to that place?
I was a very late bloomer in many respects. I admit to being over 50 when I got out of a long deteriorating marriage that I had neither the courage nor the means to leave.
How long?
Oh, 29 years of a bad marriage. Balancing on the tightrope of a bad marriage graciously made it difficult to do anything else. I got out. I was over 50 when I wrote my first novel, which was a huge success, Up the Down Staircase. I was over 50 when I discovered a totally new career, doing promotion
There's
for the
hope for
book.
us.
Oh, you're a baby. You don't have to worry yet. But doing the promotion for Staircase, I realized people liked my voice. I was able to communicate with them on a very personal basis, whether there were 100 or 1,000, whether there was a microphone or a television camera. I was very much at home with that. So I entered upon a very lucrative, ego-nourishing career of public speaking. And I must tell you that working for those standing ovations, which I often get,
Yes.
thunderous applause isn't enough. I find it so nourishing to my narcissism.
How did it start, though? You know, well, everyone, lots of people get skates, but they don't become Olympians and bronze medal winners.
Well, I really fell in love with it. I loved that it was action-oriented, that you could jump and you could glide and feel the wind through your hair and you could go fast. But I also loved the fact that you could play music and wear costumes, which, you know,
Pretend.
we love to do that. And you could be creative, you could be theatrical. It had elements of both worlds that I loved so much. So I was fortunate to be teamed up when I was 7 years old with a little boy named Ken Shelley. We were snowflakes in a Winter Wonderland production number. And we were well matched in our personalities, and as the years went on and our goals and dreams grew, they grew together. I mean, we really were of the same mind in heart and spirit and energy and talent. He was more talented than me always, but so together we went through the ranks of competitive skating. And your dreams and goals start out here, but as you grow, they grow. And as long as you have a goal and a dream, you have a specific direction of something that you're reaching for. And I think that's really the key to success, is to know where you want to go.
Where does that come from, though? Who encouraged you, if you're looking back now, when you were 7 and you got those skates?
Well, my mother was a great encourager. You know, the world is a tough place to be because people and situations will shoot you down quite often. And I'd come home sometimes at the end of a long day, and I had been yelled at by my school teachers, my skating teacher, my ballet teacher, and my partner. And you know, growing up is hard. Your whole body is awkward and new to you, and everything is new to you. You're being a student all day long, and that's hard work. Yes. And I would just come home some days and say, that's it, I'm finished, I can't do this anymore, I quit. and it's been such a hard day, and this challenge and that challenge, and she'd go, honey, that's wonderful. And I'd look at her like she was nuts, saying, didn't she hear what I just said? And she'd say, remember that little saying that I put on your trophy case? And she had this little plaque she made up. She was a secretary, and she typed up this little plaque, and it said, when the going gets too easy, check to see if you're not going downhill.
We have with us Frances Lear, who's written the book, The Second Seduction. She's been through it all, and she's here to share her experiences with us and to give us the inspiration to go forward in our own lives so that we can find our own strengths. Frances, welcome.
Thank you very much.
The Second Seduction, what is it?
It is coming on to somebody in the head, in the brain, in your imagination, with ideas, that marvelous collaboration that people have, men and women, when it's coupled with sex, and you also talk to each other in very special ways. I think that's the second and the best seduction.
It's the intelligence behind.
It's the intelligence, and it's also the turning each other's head on. I mean, it's almost like sex, but it's another kind. I mean, the dynamic is the same.
How do you turn the heads on?
Well, I say something which engages you and your imagination and your intelligence, your experience, and you come back with something, I say, and then another idea comes forward, and you build a synergism of ideas.
So you're talking about relationships?
Yes, I think so. Well, of course, it happens in business, too. I mean, I have a very collaborative magazine in which all the editors turn each other on in the head.
Mm-hmm. So they stimulate each other,
yes,
is what I hear
yes,
you saying.
Yes.
And there's a way of doing that. How do you get to that place?
I don't really know, except that it comes from left field somewhere. You know, everybody's talking, and then all of a sudden I get an idea that connects with something I thought about maybe 6 months ago, and then somebody else connects with it. And then you get, perhaps, it's very hard to get something original, but an original arrangement of many different ideas, let's say. And that's what Lear is about, is how to take information, experiences, events, and put them together in a way which nobody else does.
It sounds almost like a symphony.
It is. It's quite like that. And then there are symphonies between two people, too.
Yes.
But those aren't symphonies, those are duets.
I like that even better. It's much more romantic. How have you been demanding with your
them?
kids? Yes.
Well,
Alexandra.
they always, from day one, I made them feel that they are responsible for themselves.
That's the crux of my whole principle.
And if you are responsible
Yes.
for yourself, then you're free.
Mm-hmm.
And
How did you exhibit that, though, Diane? How did you, on a daily basis, give them that sense?
Well, first of all, I think that the best way you could teach anything to children is with the example.
Yes.
You know, I mean, they always saw me working and dealing with things and confronting things as they came along, and just being strong and dealing with whatever there was to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did the same.
Really don't need to have anyone's approval. Truly.
Right, truly.
We
But
need
she
to
always said,
learn
I'm going
that
to
and
be
reconfirm
attacked.
it.
I'm going to be attacked. She was attacked. You know, when I was coming in, one of your wonderful camera people said, but she was always so mocked and always so reviled.
right.
And she was.
Victim.
And she was viciously attacked by cartoonists and by the press. And in 1942, she wrote a letter to this great novelist, Fannie Hurst, saying, when she was doing so much against fascism, and by the way, much more than FDR wanted her to do, and against racism, much more than FDR wanted her to do. And she said, I am the subject of tremendous attack, but I intend to go on doing what I think is right and just and needs to be done, and I will provide lots of ammunition for attack. And it's that courage of her.
That kernel. Yes.
Right, that's the core
Yes,
of,
yes.
of
You get it from Liz. Talking about turning points, going back for you, you know, to reach the magnitude of the position that you're in right now and what you're shooting for,
Where did it all start for you, going
Well,
back?
I really think, although I'm a very shy person, I really think that I got the confidence to do what's right. I mean, that's the easy thing, easier for me to do than to do things about myself, but to do things that I think are right about the world around me or the community I live in. I think I got that really from the kind of love and care and nurturing that my parents gave me. And not only my parents, my parents were immigrants, and so we had a big extended family, and so I had grandparents and great aunts and great uncles and other people who were around, always encouraging,
Brothers,
always
sisters?
giving. I have a twin brother, and always getting a lot of love, a lot of nurturing, a lot of care, a lot of encouragement.
What were the messages that they gave you?
You can do it.
Yes. And how did they manifest it?
I don't know. They just always gave me the confidence that I could do it. And they maybe by expecting me to do it. That, in a way, was something that was the implicit message of confidence.
These guys have been running the country for over 200 years, and look at the mess we're in.
I love it. How are the polls going?
Polls are great. I have to tell you, last year, a year ago May, I was 16 points behind Bob Abrams and 20 points behind Al D'Amato. Now I am either 7 or 8 points ahead of Abrams, depending on what poll you look at, and 7 points ahead of Al D'Amato. Now, though we have closed these incredible gaps, and it's not because of me, it's the people turning around saying, hey, look, she makes sense, let's get out there and help. So they're making the difference. But though we've closed the gaps, and though we're ahead, you know, we're still running as if we're 16 and 20 points behind. I'm not letting it happen until Election Day. I am not taking anybody or anything for granted. You just can't. You cannot in a race like this.
Well, I want to see you back here in October after the primaries.
I will be here.
Yeah.
Just invite me.
Oh, indeed. I'm so, Geraldine Ferraro, I'm so happy that you could join
Thanks.
us.
It was a delight. Thank you.
And remember, experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens. Thanks for joining us, and get out there and vote.